Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Rama. First time you are stopping by. I'm Nigeria designer based in Lagos, Nigeria. Guys, I know it's been a while that I posted a next video on this channel. I'm so sorry. I've been busy all this while. I know there's any reason that I can justify my action. All I want to say is I'm so sorry. So guys, in today's video we are making a jumpsuit with inbuilt neckline, and it also have a half length, so I'm drafting the half length now. So for my pattern edges, I come down by 1 inch, which is going to be my shoulder line. So the next thing I'm going to do now is from my shoulder line, I'm going to come down by 10 inches, which is going to be my bust line. 13.5 for the under bust, and the 17 inches from the front shoulder to the waist measurement. So I went ahead, I rule out a straight line and also label it my bust line, under bust line, and the waistline. So from the bust line, I'm going to come up by 1.5 inches, which is going to be my chest line. I also rule it out and also label it my chest line. So the next thing I'm going to do now is divide my shoulder into two. My shoulder is 15, so I went ahead, I divided it into two. It's going to be 7.5. For the neckline, I marked 3 inches for the weight. I'm so sorry guys, I just realized that my hand is covered the measurements. I'm so sorry. So from the armhole line, I come down by 1 inch, so I use my set square to connect the points together. For the neckline depth, I come down by 3 inches and use my curve ruler to curve out my neckline. At the armhole line, I'm going to measure what I have there, which is 7.5. I'm going to divide it into 2 equal. So from there, I'm going to mark it and come in by 1/2 inch and use my curve ruler to curve out my armhole curve. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to divide my bust palm into 2. My bust palm is 7 inches. 7 inches divided by 2, which is going to give me 3.5. So I'm going to mark it at the bust line, the bust line, and also at the waistline. So from the bust line there, I'm going to come down by 1 inches and use my set square to connect the point together. After I'm done that, at the waistline, I'm going to mark 1/2 inch on both sides for the waistline that. The next thing I'm going to do now is to take in my measurement. My bust measurement is 36 divided by 4, which is 9 inches. My waist is 32. 32 divided by 4, which is 8 inches. So after I mark that, I'm going to connect the point together. So at my bust line, at the side line there, I'm going to come down by 2 inches. That difference between my shoulder to the waist from the front, from shoulder to the waist for the back. So mine is 2 inches. Measure yours and mark it. So I'm going to mark 2 inches at the side line there, and from my bust point, I'm going to come out by 1 inches. The reason why I did that is because I don't want any pointed at my bust point. I want everything to be neat and nice. So I'm going to connect the point together. So to make our side line straight, I have to fold in the dart and use my trace away to rule it out, because you just cut it like that, your side will not straight after you take in your underarm dart. So I also mark the middle point of it. So I'm going to use my scissors now and cut it out. I'm going to cut it aside and move to the back. So I'm going to do the same thing that I did at the front. I come down by 1 inches at my pattern edges. I roll out a straight line and also mark 1 inch for zip allowance. I also rule a straight line there. Next thing I'm going to do now is to mark my shoulder to the waist for the back, which is 15 inches. I rule out a straight line. Shoulder to the bust line, which is 10 inches. I also rule out a straight line from there. and labeling my bust line, my waistline. So from the bust line, I'm going to come up by 1.5 inches for the chest line. I also rule out a straight line. At my shoulder line, I'm going to divide my shoulder measurement into two, which is 15 inches. With 15 inches divided by 2, which is 7.5. I mark it at the shoulder line and also mark it at the chest line. I did this to give me a straight line. After I connect the point together, I label my chest line. So next thing I'm going to do now is to mark the width of my back neckline. I mark 3 inches and come down at the armhole line by 1 inches to connect the points together. And for the depth of my neck for the back, I come down by 1 inches. So the next thing I do is to cuff out my armor cuff. So at the waistline there at the center back, I'm going to come in by 3.5 at the waistline and also at the bust line and connect the point together. So at the waistline, at 3.5 that I mark at the waistline, I'm going to mark half an inch on both sides and connect the point to the bust line. So the next thing I do is to take in my measurements, divide your bust measurement by 4 wherever you get, you mark it, and also at the waistline wherever you get, you mark it. And don't forget to return the part that you took at the waistline. So I'm going to mark that and replace the back at the side and use my set square to connect the point together. This is where I realized that I didn't return the dart that I took for the front at the waistline, so which I'm going to do now. So I went ahead, I placed another paper under my front pattern and used my sellotape to tape it together. So I'm going to return the dart, which is 1 inches, and mark it. So see me doing. So guys, let's mark our new neckline, which is the inbuilt neckline. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start with the front pattern. So at my center front at the neckline, I'm going to come down by 2 inches, and at the shoulder line I mark half an inch. So I'm going to use my cuff ruler now to connect the point together. After I did that, I'm going to slash it. After I slash is finished, I'm going to place another paper underneath. I'm going to use my sellotape to tape it together. After I'm done that, I'm going to spread it by 2 inches. So the next thing I'm going to do now is at my shoulder line there, the point you see me pointing out, I'm going to mark 1.5 inches. After I mark 1, I'm going to connect it together. After I did that, I'm going to take my cuff ruler to cuff the center back. The center front. It's like connect the upper part to the down part. The next thing that I did is to slant my shoulder. You can see the way I placed there's my set square, because just leave the shoulder area like that. Your shoulder is not going to look nice, and you also have a problem at the shoulder line there. So I use my cuff ruler to cuff out my new neckline. As you can see, this is how the front is going to look like. So guys, this is how our front is going to look like. Let's move right to the back. So I also place another paper under my back pattern and use my telephone to tape it together. So at my center back, I'm going to come up by 1 inch and roll it the point to the center back. So after I'm done that, at the point I connect the neck to the shoulder, I'm going to roll out a straight line. It's just like a guideline. So after I'm done that, I'm going to mark half an inch at the shoulder line. And from the point that you see me pointing out, I'm going to mark 1.5 inches. So after I mark it 1 inch, I use my hand to connect it with the shoulder. I use my cuff ruler to cut out my new neckline. And also don't forget your zip allowance. Don't forget to also add your zip allowance to it. So guys, this is how the back is going to look like. I'm just cross-checking if my shoulder for the front at the back is equal, which is equal. So guys, let's move to the trouser part. So for my pattern edges, I come down by 2 inches and I roll out a straight line, and that place is going to be my waistline, and that line is going to be my waistline. So from the waistline, I come down by 8.5, which is the distance between my hip to the waistline, and 10 inches for the crotch. So I use my scale to roll out a straight line. So after I'm done that, I'm going to label it my waistline, my hip line, and the crotch line. So guys, at the waistline, I'm going to divide my waist into 4. That's 2 divided by 4, which is 8 inches. I mark it plus 1 inches. That I also mark it. I wanted to add the stitches allowance to it, which is the third point that you said at the waistline, which I later changed my mind. I don't have stitches allowance to the pattern. Is when I'm cutting the fabric. That's when I add the stitches allowance to it. So at the hip line, I divide the hip line by 4, which I also mark it. The second point that you said there is stitches allowance. I told you I cancel it. So I connect the waistline to the hip line. So I'm going to roll the hip down to the crotch line. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to measure my front side, your laps. Measure it. Whatever you get, you divided it by 2 inches, which also same that I mark at the crotch line. So I'm going to use my cuff ruler now to cuff out my brush cuff. So at the waistline there, I'm going to divide the waistline by 2, what I have at the waistline by 2, and come down by 4 inches for the dart. So I roll out a straight line. So I'm going to mark half an inch on both sides. If you don't want a dart at your front trouser, you can cancel the dart. So the next thing I'm doing now is to mark my trouser length, which is 40. You can just minus your half length from your full length. So whatever you get, that's what your trouser length is going to be. So I'm going to measure what I have at the crotch line, which is 12.5. I'm going to bring it down to the hemline. So after I bring it down, I'm going to move the line from the crotch down to the hemline. So after I roll it down, I'm also going to do the same thing at the side. It's like straight from the crotch down to the hemline. So at the waistline, for the front, I'm going to come out by 3 inches. That's where I'm going to start taking my back measurement. So from there, I'm going to take in my waist measurement, which is 8 inches. You know, now divide the waist by 4 wherever you get. So I mark my 8 inches. So at the crotch line at the front, I'm going to come out by 1 inches and use my cuff flat to cuff out the cuff for the back. Sorry guys, I don't have another marker, so I'm using a pen, a red pen to rule it out. I hope you guys see it. So from this side, I just blended it to the side. So the 1 inch that I come out at the cross line, I'm going to rule it down to the M line. Just take it down to the M line. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to take in my back, that divide the back into 2 and come down by 5 inches. Just with a straight line and mark half an inch on both sides. Connect it to the point. So at the cross line for the front, I'm going to come down by half an inch and connect it to the side, to the knotting at the side. So at the hemline, I'm going to divide it into 2, mark the midpoint, and from there come down by half an inch and cuff it to the both sides. So I'm going to use my traceaway to trace it out. So this is how the pattern is looking like right now. The red is for the back, while the black is for the front. So after I cutting out, I label it. This is my back, and then this is my front. So after I'm done that finish, I'm going to slash through the hip line. There are 2 ways to raise your push for the back up, either by doing that at the waistline or the hip line. So I'm going to slash through the hip line. After I slash through the line, I'm going to put another paper under it and use my tape to tape it down and raise the hip up by 1.5 inches. After I did that finish, I'm going to use my cuff to blend it. So guys, this will be the end of today's tutorial. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, support your guys, guys. Give my videos thumbs up, and don't forget to ring the notification bell so whenever I post a new video you notified. See you guys in my next video.